Hey, Brian from Snake Bites here. You know, the boa and python breeding season is upon us right now, so I'm going to spend this time talking to you guys about the tricks that we use, from cycling to moving animals around and just keeping track of things. I hope this will help you guys out if you ever decide to breed any boas or pythons. You're watching Snake Bites. First thing you have to do when you're going to breed a boa or a python is cycle the temperature. We actually keep our rooms at about 84 degrees, but during the breeding season we'll cool down at night down to about 76 degrees. So the first thing I do is set my thermostat for a nighttime drop. The next thing I do is I inventory all my males and all my females to decide what combos I want to make. Once I've decided which female to breed to which male, I go ahead and I rearrange them into breeding groups. I'll start with the number 1 and work my way down the list as far as assigning a number to them. This way I can keep a tag that will always stay with that female. After I have the cages and tags marked, I go ahead and use my trusted paint marker to actually mark the female so that it coincides with the number on its cage. Once I have the females marked and it coincides with the number on the cage, I'll take the male that I've decided to breed that animal to, I'll take his tag from his cage, put it on the female that he's going in with, and he's going to go in this cage for the next 24 to 48 hours. If I witness copulation within the first 24 hours, I'll oftentimes move that male to the next cage. If I don't, I'll leave him in for about 48 hours before moving him on to the next female. Oftentimes, I'll actually move both the male and female into another cage, having 2 females and 1 male, making sure that I move all of the appropriate tags to the proper cage. Another thing I'll do during the 3 to 4 months of actually cool downing and breeding is I'll mist the snakes maybe once or twice a week just to keep the humidity up. It seems to help when it comes to breeding. After 5 days of cycling the male through the females, I'll actually separate all the animals back into their own cages and give them a couple days rest. During that time, I'll offer food. Not all of them will eat, but I do think it's important to at least offer food because the ones that do feed tend to keep in better condition through the breeding season. Not everybody breeds their snakes exactly like I do. Everyone does it a little bit different. This is just a guideline. I'll continue to do this for 3, 4, sometimes even close to 5 months until either the females will not be receptive or become gravid. When it comes to the big snakes like the big boas and pythons, we really use the exact same technique. It's just a little harder to move them around. So if you continue to go through that process for a few months, you should see your animals starting to become gravid. That's when you're going to want to raise your temperatures back to 84 degrees during the day and at night. And if you do everything right, you guys should see babies in a few months.
Another good breeding season in a big snake room means what? More for me to take care of. Look, this is what we got left of our baby berms. Got to spot check and water them weekly. And I think I'll feed them now too. Baby berms can eat bigger meals.
Alright guys, it's Ask the Breeder. But it's not Brian Barczyk, it's Cal, coming to you on the issue of power feeding. Is power feeding bad for a snake? You know, I got a lot of first-time mutations, a lot of expensive ball pythons I work with, and I power feed them, you know? I try to beat them up as quickly as possible. I feed them, 2-3 times a week, let them have a day's rest, so they don't get stressed out. Anything done in moderation is not going to hurt the snake. Bottom line is, just don't overdo it, and your snake will be just fine. So you know what? If you got any more questions for Ask the Breeder, send your questions to Brian at SnakeBytesTV. You might see Brian next time. You might see me. I know you guys like seeing me more.
You may have noticed there's been a little turnover recently in our crew. It happens, it's the way things go when you run a business. My favorite story about a guy leaving was someone that worked here for a couple years calling another employee up to pick his key to the building up and tell me that he's never coming back.
Well, I'd have to say the favorite way that I have of somebody quitting here at BHB would be leaving us a MySpace message saying, sorry, not going to be coming to work. I don't think I'm going to be able to work there anymore. I thought that was pretty funny, instead of calling or even showing up, just MySpace messaging us.
So we had this guy, he said, I don't quit. Then one day, he calls the boss and says, I'm going to be a little late. It never shows back up. What do you call that? Quitting.
What's my favorite story about somebody quitting? There's so many stories. I'm gonna have to use somebody getting fired. There was this one guy that got fired at like 10 in the morning, and he finished the whole day of work. He stayed here and worked, knowing the next day he wasn't gonna have a job. What a jackass. Hey, wonderful viewers. Usually our chew on this segment is uplifting, it's exciting, but unfortunately today I have to take it down a notch. Chew on this.
Cal, you want to see my new pet albino boa? His name's Lucky. I'm a little sad. He was a rescue this week. The guy who had him kept him under the stairs.
Under the stairs?
Yeah, he didn't know much about reptiles, so guess what? We got a new shop pet.
You know what? This started out as a sad story. If it wasn't for people like you, wonderful animals like this wouldn't have homes.
I got a pet. He's got a new beginning. And you've been chewed up and spit out.
Lucky. Alright fans, you've heard a couple stories about how people left BHB. Now, me and Brian are always get into it, you know. Should you leave a notice when you leave? Should you just leave that day? You know, which way should you go? I personally think you should just leave that day. You know, if you got another job or you're leaving, you're obviously not happy there. And then you gotta deal with the boss being a to you the whole time you're there for the other 2 weeks. You know, and then you gotta deal with the fact that he might fire you, and that means you don't win. Because quitting's way better than getting fired, right?
No way. You know what? As a small business owner, I put a lot of energy into my employees. I treat them well. I give them time off when they need to. Do everything I possibly can. I'm not running a McDonald's here. I've got a live animal business, and I expect them to give me the notice that I deserve so I can take the time to replace them. That's not that much to ask for.
Alright guys, you've heard my side of the story, you've heard Brian ramble on, I'm sure. I want to know what you guys think. What's the right way to do it? Text or video comment below, we love the video comments. So let me know.
So there it is, a look into how we breed boas and pythons here. I hope it helped you guys with some helpful tips if you ever want to breed them. I want to shout out to the online community, repticzone.com. It's got a lot of cool discussion boards on it, and if you're into reptiles, you don't want to miss out. We appreciate you joining us this week on Snake Bites. Hey, from all of us here at Snake Bites TV, we want to wish you a Merry Christmas.
And Happy
Holidays!